Hi guys, this is Mrs. Novella from the Expressive Arts Classroom, and today I'm going to talk about refining and defining our gargoyle qualities. So by now you should have finished completing the required parts of your gargoyle. You have a pinch pot body, you have a head, you have 2 arms, 2 legs, and 2 wings. And what you're going to do today is you're going to add a minimum of 1 design options, which include horns, fangs, spikes, mohawks, or anything else you can think of. You're going to smooth out and kind of redefine your features. You're going to add texture, and you're going to complete a spot check to make sure that you've met all the criteria. So first, looking at our rubric, this project is worth 100 points, and so we'll review this in class so that you're very comfortable with the requirements and you have a clear expectation for how this will be assessed. Once you've reviewed the rubric, then you can begin by adding your additional features. Your leftover clay from your building yesterday will come in handy for you to add those additional options like horns or fangs or a tongue or things like that to make it really fun and unique. Once you're done adding those features, then what you're needing to do is kind of smooth out and redefine your gargoyle. So you're going to need to dip your hands in water. Your clay has been built for a couple days now and it's starting to crack. And when you add it onto it, chances are nothing is all the way smooth. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to give your gargoyle a bath all over. You want every single part of this gargoyle to be smoothed out so that it looks as though you built it all within one day, and so that there aren't any cracks or creases or any seams. So you can see I'm very carefully just getting my fingers wet, dipping it in the can, and going over every single feature so that it is nice and smooth. For those really small areas, just dip your pinky in and just very carefully go inside those areas. When you're smoothing out features like noses, just take your time. You don't want the clay to crumble. But once you smooth it, it looks so much better than it did before. So that is your first step, is to give your gargoyle a bath and smooth out. Now you may think that the front is all that matters, but when you turn your gargoyle around, and I'll tilt this up so you can see it, you can see the back looks really bad. You really need to smooth out those seams, especially where you fused the wings together, and make sure that the tops and the sides and the back are all smooth and slick. Okay, so once you're done with that, what's nice about doing that is that it moistens your clay for you. So moving forward, when you're adding texture, it'll easily be achieved. Now, some tools for texture, you can use a spike, you can use a cutting tool, you can use this, but really what you want to do is you want to create realistic texture that takes on the appearance of whatever animal or human form you're taking. So at your table, you should have several different images that you can compare. You can see the lines within the wings. You can see creases where a neck bends. You can see wrinkles and dots and creases where eyes form. All of these examples will give you really concrete visuals for how to create texture into your gargoyle so that it looks realistic. You can add these little teeth, you can add these lines, you can see that there's a different texture for the chest. And so what you would do for that, for instance, if you were going to add texture for the chest, you could use lines, you could use dots, but what you should do is kind of mix it up so that each feature is unique and stands out on its own. Now, as you're creating texture, when you are using the subtractive method, like pushing in, you are subtracting clay. And when you do that, there's residual clay that's going to come off on your point. You need to pull that off and make sure it doesn't stay. For instance, in the wings, when I created texture using the subtractive method, you can see that there are bits of pieces of clay that I need to carefully take out and remove. So creating texture using the subtractive method is simply carving into the clay. But when you carve into the clay, there are bits and pieces of the clay that want to stick that you need to take the time and remove. So creating texture is required. It's required on your wings. It's required on your gargoyle to create realistic fur or hair. If you're creating details like fingers, You're going to be using the subtractive method to create lines, and all of those subtractions have areas that you need to clean up. So take your time, look at the images and examples, see what texture or line designs work best for you when creating realistic texture for your gargoyle. Smooth out your gargoyle first to moisten the surface and to smooth it out. Then use tools in the subtractive method to create texture. Clean up as you go. Make sure that not only are you smoothing the front and texturizing the front, but you're smoothing out the back and texturizing the back as well. Take your time to do this. The more time you spend on these fine details, the better your gargoyle will look when it's all done. And these gargoyles are going to look amazing. So have fun and finish refining and designing your gargoyle.